This episode of Sports Spectrum's podcast is presented by our new partners, Cedarville University, one of the leading Christian universities in the country. Cedarville is well known for excellent academic programs that equip graduates for lifelong ministry and service, including their brand new Master of Athletic Training degree. Cedarville's athletic training program is accredited by the Commission of Accreditation of Athletic Training Education. Students are taught by outstanding professors who are experienced in the athletic training profession, including Program Director Mike Weller, who has worked with the Cincinnati Bengals and the NFL. And what sets Cedarville's MAT program apart is the opportunity for students to earn a bachelor's degree in sport medicine, a Bible minor, and the Master of Athletic Training in just 5 years. And it's all from a biblical worldview. They also offer a 2-year standalone master's program for students who've already completed a bachelor's degree elsewhere. Now, I've been on Cedarville's campus, and I can attest that it has great facilities, wonderful academic programs, and a great faculty. In fact, the MAT is housed in the newly renovated spaces with the latest technology. So I want to encourage you to visit cedarville.edu/athletic training to learn more about Cedarville's innovative Master of Athletic Trainings program. Again, the website cedarville.edu/athletic training to learn more about the brand new Master of Athletic Training program at Cedarville University. Check it out today.
This is Sports Spectrum, the intersection of sports and faith, where we bring Jesus back into the conversation. Here's your host, Jason Romano.
And hey, everyone, welcome to Sports Spectrum's podcast. I am Jason Romano on this Football Friday. It's so good to have you here joining us on the show today. And why not still call it a Football Friday? Yes, the NFL and college are finished, but I think we can continue a lot of the great Friday conversations that we've had throughout the season in the offseason as much as possible and have on different people in the world of football to talk football and sports and faith in Jesus here on Sports Spectrum on a Friday show. And Isaiah Sanders, the former Stanford and Air Force quarterback, is going to be our guest here in a second. I'll tell you a little bit more about him. But first, make sure you go to our website, sportspectrum.com. Free content, devotionals, podcasts, articles, stories, testimonials, videos. It's all there. It's all for free. It's a great place to visit every single day at sportspectrum.com. And if you have a guest idea that you would like to reach out to us and share with us, or maybe it's just someone that you saw that you think might be a follower of Christ, maybe it's a coach or a player, a broadcaster, maybe it's somebody on the highest level, but maybe it's somebody that isn't known as well, you can email me directly. Jason@sportspectrum.com is my email. Jason@sportspectrum.com. Now, Isaiah Sanders is our guest today, one of the more impressive young people I've talked to in a very long time. He is the 2021 Wuerffel Trophy winner, and that formal presentation of the 2021 Wuerffel Trophy has taken place tonight, February 25th, 2022, at the 53rd All Sports Association Awards Banquet in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. He was nominated for this award in 2019 as well. He was a finalist, did not win, and then 2 years later, in his super senior year, Isaiah Sanders is the winner in his time with Stanford. This year played in 12 games with Stanford as a quarterback, scored 3 touchdowns. He was more of a backup quarterback who came in certain situational downs, short yardage, goal line type of situations, scored 3 touchdowns, spent 2 years with Stanford, but before that, he was with the Air Force Academy, and he kind of still is, and he'll explain that in a second. With the Air Force Cadets 2016 to 2019, he has flown in the backseat of a fighter jet in Misawa, Japan, as part of an Air Force Academy program. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force in April of 2020, was selected as a human factors engineer by the USAF. He served as a volunteer at several Fellowship of Christian Athletes summer camps, led a Bible study at the academy, and by the way, he also played quarterback. Maybe one of the brightest young men you will ever hear. I can't wait to see what happens in the future with former Stanford and Air Force quarterback Isaiah Sanders, 2021 Wuerffel Trophy winner, and he's joining us right now on Sports Spectrum. Isaiah Sanders, welcome to Sports Spectrum. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to have you here. Congratulations on winning the 2021 Wuerffel Trophy. It's a pretty cool,
Thank you so much.
Pretty cool honor. What does that mean to you to be selected as the winner?
When I was first, when I was first told that I had gotten the award, I think the way I tried to describe it was that if there was a word stronger for honored, then that's how I felt. Because honor didn't even feel like it did justice to the gravity of how much gratitude I really had for that moment, and just for all the people who would believe in me or think of me in that light. And obviously when it comes to community service, you're ultimately doing it for the kids or for the people that you get to impact, the lives that you get to change. But it also is just like really awesome to know that there's people recognizing that, and more than that, hopefully that I can inspire that kind of community service in other people too. So I'm definitely super grateful.
Yeah, and you were a Wuerffel Trophy finalist in 2019. You didn't win the award then. I'm guessing at that point you weren't thinking, well, I'll have another chance in a couple years here, right? And look how it worked, and look how that happened.
Yes, no, I definitely could not have written this story for you back then.
So a lot of what the Wuerffel Trophy is about, and we love Danny Wuerffel. We've had him on this show, and he is all about faith, family, football, and anything else, serving others, all in those orders. But the faith aspect is at the top. So tell me about your faith and the importance of that in your life.
I think when Danny Wuerffel had actually asked me, about why do I do what I do, I used a similar sort of, hierarchy to kind of explain it to him, right? With faith and family at the top. Because, for me, my faith in Jesus Christ is the main reason that I do what I do. Like, he knowing that I'm loved, that I'm accepted, and I'm redeemed and restored as a child of God. Those are the types of things that I just want to share that with other people, right? Like, I've been exposed to this amazing love, this grace I don't deserve, and a God who really says, hey, even when you're at your lowest point, like, I'm still there. And when you're at your highest point, I'm still there. And just to know I have a God who loves me that much, it's the type of thing that really inspires and encourages you to say, what can I do with this one life that I've been given, with every breath that he gives me, to say, hey, I want to pick up other people when they're down, or help people see, a broader future where maybe they don't see that for themselves. So yeah, I think that the faith is the most critical part of what what I do, and just trying to inspire other people in that way.
Take me to the moment when that faith became yours, and you said, okay, Jesus, I'm all in here. I'm trusting in you. When does that happen?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, right? Because like, I grew up in the church, right, quote unquote. My grandfather's actually a pastor in Louisiana, and my parents are both super strong examples of just a man and woman of faith. And so I've been extremely blessed to see that growing up. But I think it can be really easy to go to church or do these different things just because your parents tell you to. And I think at some point, I'd like to think in high school, but definitely in college, it just kind of turned into, no, God, like, I need you. Like, I need you personally. Like, I can't go through my parents to get, what I'm saying, to look for this love or this joy or this hope that I know you provide, but I also know that I'm desperate for right now. And so I would say it's actually pretty early on that, the faith kind of became my own. I couldn't like pinpoint a specific point, but I just know that, like, I've had my ups and downs, even recently, even this past week, even, what I'm saying, like, I'm not, some super Christian or anything like that. It's just more so, I think what I'm learning now is, like, I'm not perfect, and I'm learning to accept that because I know that God accepts that. And it's not about fighting for perfection, but it's about knowing that I'm always in a process of progression, and Jesus is the one that helps me in that progression. So just continually every day trying to, draw closer to him. And like I said, I think, being at the Air Force Academy and the challenges that gives you, it can humble you really quickly and put you in a position where you're like, God, I need to cry out to you now. And just ask for help, ask for comfort, ask for peace in a world that seems very chaotic. So.
Yeah. Isaiah Sanders is our guest here on Sports Spectrum, the former Stanford and Air Force quarterback. Does it feel weird to even hear that? The former Stanford and Air Force quarterback? Like, it's not going to happen anymore. You're done with college, right?
I know. I've been a college student for 6 years. I was joking with one of my friends. They were like, Zay, you've been a senior in college longer than I've actually gone to college. And like they're done now because, 2019, I think was the first time I started that quote unquote senior season. Everything since then has been, I had freshman, sophomore, junior year, then I had senior, super senior, and super, super senior year. So it's
Yeah.
kind of been a crazy experience. But yeah, it's been a long time.
Well, let's go to there about college a little bit. And you mentioned Air
Hmm.
Force, and you started there back in 2016. Take me through the idea of going to Air Force, attending there. I know there's some
Hmm.
family history there as well, but you're
Hmm.
also an athlete and you're a
Hmm.
quarterback and you're playing a really important position
Hmm.
and going to a Division I school to do that. So let's talk
Hmm.
about your decision to attend Air
Hmm.
Force.
Yeah, I think, for me, I think I had kind of, growing up, I had sort of my own ideas of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to focus on in college. If I'm being honest, I think at the time, as a high schooler, I was like, I don't really want to have to worry about school too much when I'm in college and this, that, and whatever, right? I had some, kind of more selfish ambition in certain things like that. But, you know, I wasn't super highly recruited coming out of high school, but the Air Force Academy was really close. And I had an opportunity to kind of check out what they did and come watch them, and they expressed interest in me. And so naturally, I got to come up for one of the practices during Thanksgiving, I think. And they kind of, give me their recruiting, spiel and all these different things. But it went from one of those things where I was like, oh, I don't, you know, before that, I had kind of wasn't honestly like super big on the idea of going to a service academy in general. And then I was able to see what it actually looked like, what they helped explain to me what, a path where you choose to raise your right hand and commit to serving this nation, and especially in the Air Force, could look like. And I just thought that the opportunities available were tremendous. And I think another big draw, right, is just the opportunity to be a part of something bigger than yourself. I think there's so many other schools that I could have gone to where people still go on to do great things, but just to know that at the Air Force Academy, everybody is part of the same team, the same mission. Like, yes, we're going to go do it in different ways, but there's something that's combining all of us together. I think that that's one of the best parts of that experience. And I was thinking about that recently, and just, yeah, so ended up making that decision to go to the Air Force Academy, and ultimately, I think that's really that was just God's plan and God's grace and kind of guiding me in those steps. And so made the decision. I wouldn't say that I necessarily quote unquote liked every part of the experience, but I have a tremendous amount of appreciation and gratitude for that experience and just what it developed to me as a man. The people I got to meet, the opportunities I had that it put before me, the doors that it's opened for me, and the chance that I have ultimately to serve and kind of step on these different platforms to speak about service. I wouldn't change it for anything. And so super grateful for that time. And like you said, had a chance to play quarterback there for a little bit. Had some fun doing that. And at the end of that was, looking at grad school opportunities because I knew that was a path that some people could take out of the academy. And so I actually competed for a Rhodes Scholarship. I was a finalist for that. I competed for a couple other scholarships, and one of the ones I won is called a GSP slot. So basically, the behavioral science department at the Air Force Academy is sponsoring me going to grad school.
Hmm.
And the idea is that, hey, we'll help you go to grad school, and then you come back and teach here at some point in your Air Force career. And so I won that spot. I applied to a few different schools. I had gotten into Stanford. And then there was actually some things that I still had to kind of hash out just to make sure it was within the requirements. So I was actually in a weird place when I got accepted. I was kind of like, oh man, like this is my dream school, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to go. So I was like, I told my dad, I was like, Dad, like if I end up going to Stanford, we'll know it's a God thing. He was like, yeah, and if you don't, then we'll know it's a God thing that way too, right? Like ultimately, we were just trusting Him. And
Yeah.
within 24 hours, I saw God knocking down the obstacles that I thought were in the way and clearing the path to come here. So um, I was driving around last night on campus just thinking about how this has been the time of my life, being able to play with these guys, to learn in this kind of culture, this atmosphere, exposed to this kind of diversity, and just surrounded by people who are so driven and focused on how to make this world a better place. I love it, and I'm excited to take hopefully what I can from this experience to go make a difference in the other organizations I'll be a part of.
Yeah. We'll talk about the future in a minute. You're getting your master's in next month, right?
Yep. Finally get the degree.
Finally, this kid's done with
Yeah,
college.
I know. I got to take a break, and then I'll probably go back to school online or something.
That's funny. You
But
never stop learning either way, Isaiah Sanders.
no, it's,
Hey guys, want to take a quick break and remind you again about our friends at Cedarville University, one of the leading Christian universities in the country, and its brand new Master of Athletic Training program. What sets Cedarville's Master of Athletic Training program apart is the opportunity for students to earn a bachelor's degree in sport medicine and a Master of Athletic Training in just 5 years. That's it, 5 years. Or if you've already earned a bachelor's degree elsewhere, you only need 2 years to complete the MAT program. Cedarville University is the real deal. I've been on campus. I can attest it has great facilities, wonderful academic programs, and the faculty is second to none, including program director Mike Weller, who has worked for the Cincinnati Bengals as well as the NFL. So let me encourage you to visit cedarville.edu/athletic training to learn more about Cedarville University's Master of Athletic Training program. Again, the website, cedarville.edu/athletic training. Cedarville University. I'm confident you'll be glad that you checked out their new Master of Athletic Training program. Isaiah Sanders is our guest here on Sports Spectrum, 2021 Wuerffel Trophy winner. The formal presentation for the 2021 Wuerffel Trophy to Isaiah will occur February 25th at the 53rd All Sports Association Awards Banquet in Fort Walton Beach down in Florida. Isaiah has been our guest here on the show. You mentioned Air Force and kind of being a pivotal moment for you in growing in that faith and making that faith your own, right? I also read that that's where you were serving with FCA as well, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and the great work they do. How did serving with them help grow your faith, especially when I heard you were leading some Bible studies and getting opportunities to speak? That's a lot for a young person just trying to, figure out life in your early 20s or late teens. What did that mean to serve with FCA when you were over at the Air Force?
Yeah, no, I love that you asked about that. One, because I love FCA, but two, I also just think it's funny because I think, people ask me about community service and the things that I'm doing, or you mentioned like it being like a lot, but to me, I don't even see a lot of the work I do with FCA as community service because I legitimately love doing that stuff. Like speaking in front of people, that feels in my wheelhouse. That honestly, I feel like, and I'm not at all trying to say this in a boastful way, more so like glory to God in the way that I feel like he uses me, but I feel like I come alive when I get to step on the stage and just speak about what God's done in my life, what he's taught me, the things that I've wrestled with and cried tears over, but get to explain to somebody else. So maybe they can learn it a little easier than I had to walk through it. Even now, like I'm getting excited just thinking about the opportunities, you know what I'm saying? I got to speak at some different high schools, and just to be able to be so close while I was at the academy to the high schools that I grew up either going to or competing against, and to know that I could give a direct impact back to my community was so cool. And I cherish that opportunity. And I think some of the camps that I got to work at UNC Greeley, summer camps or overnight camps, where basically we get to hang out with hundreds of high school student athletes and engage them with the reality of Jesus, but also encourage them and equip them in their sport and just educate them, but really just be their camp counselors. Literally one of the highlights of my life, of my college experience, right? Just getting to hang out with these kids. And so there's a ton I could say about FCA, but we probably don't have enough time on the show for that. So I would just boil it down to say that it's given me some of the closest friends that I've had in my life. And it's blessed me tremendously. And so I think it provided another opportunity to serve, but also just a way to be encouraged by the ways that other people were, serving in the ministry and trying to give back to these kids and help me get an idea of what I love to do and hopefully what I hope to keep doing in the future.
Now, you were also leading Bible studies, correct?
Yeah.
What's that like as a college student to lead a Bible study? Because I think a lot of college students feel inferior, right? Like, oh, I don't know enough. I don't have this all figured out. By the way, you're talking to somebody who's in his late 40s who doesn't have it figured out either. So I kind of know the answer, but for you, that's got to be intimidating a little bit. At least it is for some people who are your age to lead a Bible study at such a young age. What was that like for you?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. I think for me, like one of the things that I say, I've said multiple times before I get started whenever I'm starting and leading a message is like, hey guys, like this isn't me standing on the shore telling you guys how to paddle to where I'm at to get to where Isaiah is at. This is me sitting in the boat with you. And like, we're all rowing to get to, you know what I'm saying? We're
That's
all
well said. Yeah.
So I just to make sure that it's clear that like, it is me stepping on the stage is not because I'm a better person or because I'm in need of, like, the foot of the cross is even, and I need just as much grace as anybody else who I'm speaking to, who I'm learning from, who I'm walking with. Right. And so I think that's the first and foremost. So it's just, how do I try to make sure I'm grounded in that humility first and foremost, but which I struggle with. I certainly struggle with. And I think the other thing when it came to leading those Bible studies, I think I just, God has mysterious ways of working, but I think he sets things up, right? So I actually, like, the first time I spoke in front of an FCA, I think it was in middle school. We had a little middle school gathering that we used to meet Wednesday mornings at like 6 or 7 in the morning. We'd come have donuts with Mr. Snyder, and we sat in the tech room and we would just talk about Jesus. And I, like, looking back, I don't know what I had to say as a 7th grader that was so profound, but I do remember, I remember talking about the difference between being content and being complacent, or like joy and happiness and just stuff like that. And so I've been, and then I was a high school leader since my sophomore year. So I had a lot of opportunities to learn from people, and then also just try my hand at trying to explain different things, or explain what God had done for me. And I think, honestly, another thing that helped me when it came to leading Bible studies and stuff like that was like the spoken word and creative writing I do. I see the world, I feel like, in metaphors and double entendres. And I think what that allowed me to do was just help articulate certain things that were maybe written, obviously about a spiritual aspect or something like that, and try to articulate it in a way that made a little bit more sense to the people who I was practically with, right? And so that I think definitely helps. So I don't really look at like leading the Bible studies as a super intimidating thing for me, because I really enjoyed doing it. And for me, it was just an opportunity to share what God was working on in my life. Not because I was perfect at it, but just because I was working through it with him.
That's good. It's funny, we spent, I don't know how many minutes we've been talking, and we haven't talked once about football or your play or what that's like, because we're a sports and faith show. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with it, because I think the faith aspect is the most important part in all the things that God has you doing, Isaiah. But what was the last 2 years like for you as you transferred to Stanford and you get a chance to be a quarterback on that team? You're not starting a lot of games, but you're seeing action. So what was that like to kind of come in and just want to fit and be a piece that can help and encourage the team, and certainly play a little bit, on the field and do your job? What's that like?
It was an amazing experience, because, I feel like I've gone, I guess it's not necessarily coast to coast physically, because Colorado is in the East Coast, but in a lot of ways, I feel like I've gone coast to coast just in the different realms that I've been a part of, right? So whether it's learning about leadership from a military perspective, to learning about it from a more of a tech and corporate and business perspective here in Stanford, or whether it's like in the offense, running a triple option versus coming here and running a more of a pro style and, West Coast style offense and stuff. And then there's a lot of other ways where I just feel like my experience before and my experience now are almost the flip side of each other. But I think it's awesome for me, because I feel like now I have such a broader perspective on these different things. Like, I can see the game of football from a different, I can watch a service academy game and understand what's going on, or I can watch another game and understand what's going on, or I can, I ran the spread in high school, so I can watch that offense and still have an understanding of what's going on. And it's just cool to see it from so many different perspectives. So for one, it's been super enlightening. And then two, just opportunity to play for Coach Shaw and Coach Pritchard. And then with some of the tremendous athletes who are here, or some of the ones who left and are in the league now, or whatever that looks like, just to know that I got to compete with those guys on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, Tanner is, I'm excited to watch, as he continues to progress and grow as a quarterback, but just to know that that's my guy. Like, that's, my brother, and I get to hang out with him. And I mentioned him because he's one of the, my closest friends, but from Jason, and Don J, like, just to know I got to compete with these guys who are tremendous athletes, but also are just like really awesome guys in general. I think that was another aspect of just, I was honestly very surprised at just how welcoming and how much respect they gave towards me, that I felt like I didn't even deserve at the time, but they were just, welcoming with warm arms, the whole staff and administration as well. And just, it's been amazing. And to know that I got to contribute for a team that I'd grown up watching and revering, as Christian McCaffrey and Kevin Hogan and Andrew Luck and all these other guys that played for it. It's a blessing that I can't really put into words. So.
My boss, Steve Stenstrom, was one of the great quarterbacks at Stanford as well. And this is like the early 90s. So you probably maybe not even know that name, but he was one of the great quarterbacks there. And he's the president of Sports Spectrum. I'm thinking about your season, right? And you played 12 games. You only started one. And I think there's some encouragement here that you can provide for those listening. So I want you to talk to the athlete who may be thinking, all right, they want and deserve more playing time. They're struggling maybe with how to be a contributor on a team when they're not playing as much as they might like. Encourage them, share with them kind of what, through your experience, how you've learned to be able to realize, you know what, I may not be starting, and every quarterback wants to play all the time, but I can still be a really great contributor and be a great teammate. Encourage that person.
Oh man, I'm trying to figure out where to start, because there's a lot of that's been so much of a part of my story, is feeling like, kind of being on the sidelines or wishing I had more playing time and things like that. At least in the past. I think honestly, the past like 1 or 2 years, it wasn't as it obviously was still there at times, but I think really, when I look at my experience at Stanford, I was just super grateful for the chances that they trusted me with the ball like that, and I was really grateful for that. So I guess maybe one, that's an indicative of sort of that change of mindset for me. I just kind of got to the point where, I realized how special it was. And so whether it was one play or 100 plays, if I got to suit up as a Stanford quarterback and run onto the field and go, call the shots for even if it was one play, like that was a blessing. That was just such a cool opportunity to be able to play in that game. And like you said, I might have only gotten 1 or 2 plays in like half of the games that I played in, but then, I still got to play in a lot of collegiate football games, and just understanding that how special that is. So I guess that would be the first thing, is like,
and at the highest level too, right?
Yeah,
at the highest level in college.
Exactly. And so like, one, it's just like a matter of recognizing how special the opportunity is, right? Like, I think we lose sight of that so often as football players, as athletes in general, because we think that if it's not as good as somebody else, if it's not what this other person's doing, if it's not this other athlete, then like it's not good enough. And what I've learned, like having been recognized at some of the highest levels for different things, or seen and met celebrities and done all these things, it's like, at the end of the day, like, if you don't learn how to just be content in your situation, regardless of what the situation is, like you're going to constantly be chasing that carrot, right? Like you're going to constantly be looking for something more. You're going to need another stat, another, another pass, another catch, another run, another touchdown, another whatever it is. And at a certain point, that gets so tiring. It gets so tiring. And so I think like for me, it's just a matter of like, when I think about Philippians 4:13, and I can do all the things through Christ who gives me strength, right? Like, that all things is understanding like, hey, look, sometimes I'm going to have a lot, sometimes I'm going to have a little, but like through all of it, the reason I'm going to still show up and be good to go and like strong and healthy and ready to like see what the day has for me is because God is like with me. And so like, I think the other part of the encouragement is like, one, like understanding the gravity of this, or how special it is, but then two, like knowing who goes with you whenever you're stepping in those situations. Like every time that I didn't maybe play as much as I wanted to, or had struggles with this, or just football, was stressing me out in other ways, or whatever it may have been, it was something that helped draw me closer to God, right? Like, because it was something that put me before my knees, like humbled before the throne, and said, look, God, I need you, because this is tough right now. And like Andy Mineo, one of the artists I listen to, he has a line that basically says like, bet you if I never had pain, bet you I never would pray. And like, I'm not saying that to encourage or say that like, oh yeah, we need to like do these hard things. But what I'm saying is like, it's through these like you learn lessons a lot better when you're uncomfortable, or when you know what I'm saying, it's not going the way you want it to, right? Like there's a lot more to be learned from a loss. And so being able to understand the moment, but then also kind of get a new perspective on the moment, I think are two of the biggest things that have helped me. And then the reality too, I guess from my perspective now, right? Like as a 24-year-old, having gotten to play college football a lot longer than most people even get to do, but still knowing that like I'm only 24, it's a fleeting like opportunity in your life. And I think if we only play football for what football can do for us, then we're missing the point. Like that's why we've spent most of this conversation not even talking about football, because football to me was a platform to be able to expose people to the reality of Jesus, to his love in my life, and hopefully to gift them with other things that whatever God gave me in that moment to be able to give to them. Like I just see football as so much bigger than the sport itself. It's the connections, it's the family, it's the hard work, it's the lessons that you learn inside the lines, but also in the locker room, and just different things like that. And I think like if we put that kind of perspective on it, we would see that like the whole experience, the practices, the walk to and from the stadium, the car rides, the the meals with your teammates, not just the Saturday games or Friday night lights, like it's all of it. It's all contributing to who I am as a man. It's all an opportunity for me to serve somebody else. And it's all an opportunity for me to just enjoy what playing football is. I had to remind myself this year of that same little kid, that 6, 7, 8-year-old version of Isaiah that ran around the house with a football, that was playing catch with himself, that would watch, the NFL and just think about what I wanted to do in the future and say,
Yeah.
hey, what can I do to give back to that kid today? What can
That's
I do
good.
to help that kid live his dreams? And that helped, went through some of the muck and mire, through some of the tough times. Like that's what helped, give me this new perspective. I'm like, man, I'm living that kid's dream. Like I'm living that kid's dream. And so how can I live it to the fullest?
That's good. 24 years old. A lot of wisdom there, Isaiah Sanders.
I appreciate it.
As we wind down, what's next? You getting your master's next month, and then what?
Yeah, so I'll get the master's next month. I'll be moving to go serve in the Air Force. I'm in Ohio, and I'm excited about working as a developmental engineer there. And then eventually, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I'll be coming back to teach at the Air Force Academy in the behavioral science department. And so excited about that. But I'm also been working on music and stuff like that. So I'm trying to see what it might look like. When I mentioned going back to school earlier, it's kind of joking, but also kind of thinking about the fact that I might try to apply to some online music production schools here within the next year or two. Want to really try to hone my craft there. And I think that's just another great way. I think sports and art are two amazing ways to engage youth and help, because I want us like there's things that people want to talk about, and there's things that people need to talk about, right? And sometimes they don't always line up. But I feel like it's for me, especially as a Black and Mexican man, so much of what I want to do is help re-represent what that looks like in America and give back to those specific communities. I think being able to engage youth, especially underprivileged urban youth, through arts, through rapping, through hip hop, through, through music or through sports, like whether it's football, basketball, or whatever, and say, hey, look, I want to help you, like in the music that you already love, or in the football or basketball that you already love. And then at the same time, I want to also help you by creating a workshop for financial literacy, mental health, character and leadership development, what it looks like to, do some of these other things that maybe you wouldn't normally talk about. And so I'm still kind of at the starting line of trying to figure out how all those all come together, because it's a lot of different pieces. But for me, I'm hoping to, put myself in a position to either found a company or work with different organizations that are about that type of mission, as seeing a student athlete as a whole person, instead of just as an athlete or just as an artist, I guess, too, right? But saying, hey, no, I want to support you as a whole person too. So
you think football will be a part of that future somehow, some way?
I definitely hope so.
Who knows? Maybe it's playing, but it could also be coaching. I mean, who knows what it could be? But that football platform is always going to be there, it sounds like.
Oh yeah. No, I love the game and hope it's still part of the future too.
That's good. Isaiah, really appreciate you coming on. Congratulations. Again, the 2021 Wuerffel Trophy recipient, Isaiah Sanders, and he's going to receive that award February 25th, 53rd All Sports Association Awards Banquet in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Congrats, my friend. Thanks for joining us, and all the best to you. Can't wait to watch where God's going to take you, my friend. I'm excited for you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
And many thanks to Isaiah Sanders, former Stanford and former Air Force quarterback, for joining us here today on Sports Spectrum, the 2021 Wuerffel Trophy winner. He's getting that award tonight at the 53rd All Sports Association Awards Banquet down in Florida at Fort Walton Beach. Such an impressive guy, right? I mean, wisdom beyond his 24 years of life for sure. Christ leading his life, Christ at the center. And football is a part of it, teaching, giving back, serving the youth, the inner city. I think we're going to look back at Isaiah Sanders in 5 or 6 years and think, my goodness, this guy is making such a difference for so many, and all the while sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ as well. So can't wait to see where Isaiah Sanders ends up and what the Lord does for him, but really do appreciate him being here today on Sports Spectrum. We thank you as well for tuning in. You're amazing. You really are. The fact that you hit play on whatever podcast app you're listening to join us here on today's show. Please do us a favor, click that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode, or that follow button so that you never miss an episode of Sports Spectrum's podcast. We got a ton of episodes out there. We're on just about 5 years with this show, and we're just so thankful to have been able to bring this show to you. And who knows what God does in the future with this show. We've had some conversations and some rumblings, and we'll see what that looks like. But I'm just grateful that Sports Spectrum exists, that this show exists, and that I get to be a part of it, and then you get to be a part of it as well. So thanks for tuning in. Join us next time for another episode. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you soon right here on Sports Spectrum's podcast.